AITA because my mom thinks I should read her mind about family get-togethers. I 43 female am married to an amazing guy, but his family, well, that's a whole other story. My husband's mom, let's call her Linda 47 female, has always had a complicated relationship with me, and honestly, it's starting to take its toll. Every year, we do a big family Christmas get-together, and for the past 7 years, I've been the one hosting. I handle all the cooking, planning, and organizing, while Linda and the rest of the family just show up with minimal to no contribution. It's always been like this. Linda hasn't hosted a family event since 2016. This year was no different, but things got way more complicated than usual. Linda set a date for our Christmas gathering for December 27th this past year. I was already stressed out because I had made a huge apple pie, and I had prepared 6 dishes for the dinner, something I do every year. Linda, on the other hand, would usually bring 1 or 2 dishes if that, but I was fine with it because I love hosting and making sure everyone has a good time. But here's the thing, a few days before, I found out through a cousin that Linda and her husband, let's call him Tom, had hosted a birthday party at their house the day before our scheduled Christmas gathering. Now, I know Linda well enough to understand what this meant. They probably didn't want to host another family get-together so soon, especially since they never help with anything. I could already picture the situation. They'd cancel last minute, not bring anything, and I'd end up doing everything. So, on the day of the event, December 27th, I get a text from Linda around 3 p.m. What's the plan today? I'm already thinking, this isn't good. She then says that she and Tom are sick, which, knowing their history, I didn't buy for a second. I had already prepared everything and had been looking forward to it, but I also knew it wasn't worth arguing over. My husband calls Linda to try to sort things out, and I stay calm and polite. I suggest that we reschedule and find a new date for the gathering. This way, everyone can be on the same page. I also like keeping everything in writing because, to be honest, Linda has a terrible memory, and it's good to have a record of what was said. The next day, January 3rd, Linda texts me again asking if we can redo Christmas on a Sunday. I respond with my availability, which is as follows. Sorry for the delay, ____, and I just got home from scootering by the beach. The boys are with my mom on Sunday for a birthday outing. I have plans with friends on the 11th, 12th, 18th, and 19th, but the 25th is the only day I don't think we have plans. I thought this would be clear enough, but I didn't hear anything back. No confirmation, no follow-up, so I assumed that was the end of it. I didn't think about Christmas again until January 25th, when I get a text from Linda at 4:30 p.m. asking, ______ me, are you guys coming over today? What time did you say? Now, let me tell you, I was already busy with a school project with my son, and on top of that, I was still recovering from a lot of stress. I didn't even confirm any time with Linda or solidify the date, so I was confused and a little frustrated. Plus, I had been out running errands to grab supplies for this project. So if I wanted to go, I'd have to drive home, get dressed, and then drive 15 minutes to Linda's house. We're talking about at least 45 minutes to an hour of driving with no time to prepare or even wrap my head around it. I responded, I never got a confirmation from you, so I didn't plan anything. We're in the middle of a physics project, and tomorrow we have a funeral to attend. She replies, I was unaware that it was not confirmed. I can't even think right now. I feel bad for my mom who's been waiting, so I'm going to have it for her today. At this point, I'm thinking, here we go again. Linda and I have had this cycle for years. I was upset but still tried to be understanding. I had never received a solid confirmation, and I figured she was still sick and might need more time to recover. So I did the best I could to explain it. I sent another text to clarify the situation. Me, I never confirmed anything because I didn't get a response from you. I assumed with everything going on, including your sickness and the holidays, this wasn't solidified. We've got a lot happening right now, and I wasn't prepared for a last-minute gathering. But then she drops a bombshell. Linda, you said that the only day you could do it was the 25th, and I took that as confirmation. Now, I'm really frustrated. I go back and look at my original message, and it clearly said, the only day I don't think we have plans is the 25th. That's not the same as saying, yes, I'm available. But now I'm starting to feel like she's trying to twist things around, and it's all becoming about me not being responsive enough. I reply, sorry, my message was, the only day I don't think we have plans is the 25th, but I never got a response from you confirming whether that would work for both families. At this point, I can already feel how this is going to play out. Linda is going to tell everyone that we bailed or didn't show up. She's going to blame me for the lack of communication, and I'm going to end up looking like the bad guy. I already know it. I tried one last time to explain to my mother-in-law, who hasn't been responsive either and hasn't texted my son for his birthday or anything since the 13th. I'm sorry. No one responded or confirmed today. If you're upset, again, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you or have Christmas linger into other months. I messaged Linda, and I got no response on dates that worked for both families and you. I can't read minds or assume that a date works. I assumed with everything going on, like the fires and you working long hours, it was on hold. I'm really trying to make my case, but at this point, I just feel exhausted. The whole thing feels like one big mess, and I'm left trying to hold everything together. I've been nice, I've forgiven their rudeness, but it feels like it's always going to be the same. Linda gets upset over things that could easily be avoided if everyone just communicated better, but no one seems willing to do that. In the end, I'm feeling like I'm in TA. I've tried my best, and yet it seems like I'm constantly blamed for these misunderstandings. My husband is amazing and has had my back before, correcting his family when they've been wrong. But I think this situation with Linda is never going to change. I feel like she feeds off the caretaker role with her mom to start arguments or judge me for what I do or don't do. It's exhausting, and I just want it to stop. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for not reading Linda's mind and expecting more than a text message once every few weeks? Update. After everything went down with Linda's last-minute text about the Christmas gathering on January 25th, I thought I was in for another one of those frustrating, never-ending cycles of blame. Sure enough, as expected, Linda started telling everyone that we canceled the family Christmas event, painting me as the villain in this whole saga. I was getting texts from a few family members, asking why we didn't show up, and honestly, it was starting to feel like I was being dragged through the mud for something that wasn't even my fault. At first, I thought, here we go again. I'll just keep quiet and let it blow over. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I couldn't let this slide. I've always tried to be the bigger person, but this time was different. I had to stand up for myself because this whole mess was making me feel like I was constantly being blamed for everything. So I decided to tell Mark, my husband, exactly how I felt. I was frustrated, upset, and exhausted from being the one to constantly pick up the slack for his family. I felt like I had been doing everything for years, hosting, cooking, planning, and all I got in return was disrespect. I told him I couldn't keep taking the fall for every little thing, especially when it came to family gatherings. I needed him to step up and defend me this time. Now, Mark is a good guy. He's always been supportive. But in the past, he's been a little too passive when it comes to his family's drama. He's always the peacekeeper, which is great in theory. But when his mom and sister start making false accusations, it's hard to maintain peace without addressing the problem. I didn't want to be the one to fight the battles anymore. I wanted him to handle this, and let me tell you, this time he did not disappoint. Mark immediately called his mom, Linda, and I could hear the tension in his voice from the other room. It wasn't an angry call, but he wasn't holding back. He started by telling Linda that I wasn't the one who canceled the Christmas get-together, and I certainly wasn't the one who was at fault for this miscommunication. He calmly reminded her that we had both tried to confirm dates and had been waiting for her response, which never came. The whole thing was a mess from the start because Linda never responded to any of my texts or attempts at communication. She simply ignored everything and expected us to just show up. As soon as Linda started to interrupt, Mark cut her off, which I was so relieved to hear. He didn't let her spin the narrative that I was the problem. He told her that he was tired of the same cycle repeating every year, family events where no one communicated, where everything fell on me, and I ended up being the scapegoat when things went wrong. He even brought up how, the last time we hosted, I had prepared a ton of food that went to waste because no one had confirmed whether or not they were coming. He said it's not right for Op to be expected to make everything work on her own. We need better communication. Linda tried to defend herself, claiming she had no idea things were unclear and that she was just trying to make it work for everyone. But Mark wasn't buying it. He told her, "You can't expect Op to just magically know what's going on when no one communicates. You can't say you want to do Christmas and then cancel last minute without even confirming a new date. It's not fair to her. It's not fair to us." The conversation escalated a bit, with Linda throwing out some guilt trips. She said things like, "I just want to see my grandkids, and Op is making everything so difficult." But Mark stayed calm. He reminded her of all the times she had ignored our messages, didn't follow through on plans, and how that led to all this frustration. He even called out how she hadn't bothered to check in with us about the boys' birthdays or sent them any messages for Christmas or New Year's, which I had been doing all along to keep the relationship going. Then the real bombshell hit. Mark straight up told her, "If you really want to see the kids, then you need to put in the effort. This can't always fall on Op to make things happen. You want to spend time with your grandkids. Make it happen. We can't keep playing this game." He made it clear that this pattern of passive-aggressively ignoring us was not going to continue. He said, "I'm done with the excuses. I'm done with the blame. You need to start putting in the effort if you want to have a relationship with us." Linda's response, complete silence. She didn't know what to say. For once, Mark had laid it out in no uncertain terms. If she wanted things to improve, she needed to take responsibility and stop making everything my fault. After the call, Mark told me what had happened, and I was in shock. I had never heard him speak to his mom like that before, and it felt like a huge victory. I felt supported, like I wasn't in this alone anymore. But as you can imagine, things didn't go smoothly after that. Linda didn't respond for days, and the family started to take sides. Some relatives reached out, and I had to explain my side of the story again. One of Mark's cousins even texted me, accusing me of overreacting and being too sensitive, which only added to the drama. I ended up sending a very calm, very clear message explaining that I wasn't overreacting, that I was just trying to set reasonable boundaries after years of being taken for granted. The tension lingered, and I honestly thought we might have another blow-up on our hands, but slowly, Linda started to reach out. First, it was a message to Mark, apologizing for the miscommunication. Then, a few days later, she sent me a text, "I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. I shouldn't have assumed. I'll do better in the future." It wasn't a full apology, but it was progress. I wasn't about to forget everything right away, but it felt like we were finally making some headway. Linda's apology was like a small victory, but it was also clear that things weren't going to magically fix themselves overnight. It was going to take time for her to change her ways. As for Mark, he hasn't backed down. He's made it clear to both his mom and sister that he's not going to let me take the fall for their lack of communication anymore. It's been a huge relief knowing he's got my back, even if his family isn't always on the same page. He's set a boundary with them. If they want to spend time with us, they have to meet us halfway and be consistent. It hasn't been smooth sailing, but for the first time, I feel like I'm not the only one carrying the weight of the family's drama. We're in this together now, and it feels pretty damn good.